and welcome to the Growth Whisperers, where everything we talk about is building enduring great companies. My name's Brad Giles, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-pilot, Kevin Lawrence. Hello, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Brad. As always, life's good.
That's good.
Always love sharing new stuff on this podcast. I get a kick out of doing it. Grateful that we get to do this, put a show together every week. It's awesome.
Good. We always like to start with a word or phrase of the day. What might be your word or phrase today, Kevin?
Proactive. I've been focusing more on trying to get farther ahead of things. And I know as a leader, our job is to be farther ahead and farther into the future, but sometimes we get sucked into the present and what's going on. So I'm just trying to be more proactive is my intent and my progress. That's so proactive today.
Very good. Mine is retention. I've been doing a lot of work on a book about onboarding, as you well know, onboarding new employees, and the cost of retention in the data is just amazing. So, yeah. So I don't know.
Can I sew this one together, Brad?
I left that open for you.
Proactive retention. That's it's almost too easy. Yeah, it's being proactive about retention. I mean, being proactive about anything is good, right? That's why we planning and pushing ahead, and kind of takes us into a bit of the theme of the show today too, Brad. That's just a beautiful segue. I'll set it right up there for you on a platter.
Yeah. So today we're talking about the difference between a coach and a consultant. Now, Kevin, you and I have been mates for, I guess, 10 years, give or take. And, through that journey, a lot of the people that we know have had a bit of a challenge around the definition of a coach or a consultant, and what role they play and how the market might perceive if they're a coach or if they're a consultant or what happens. But you just kind of got to own it, right? So today we're talking about coach versus consultant, which is right for you.
It is. And what's interesting, years ago, I actually stopped calling myself a coach. I used to go by Coach Kevin. I stopped calling myself a coach because there's all these people calling themselves coaches that are like not even close to the definition of a coach in my mind. They're like retired executives who are mentors or advisors or consultants calling themselves a coach. And I felt it kind of dirtied the term. And because a coach is something very specific in my mind. Right. And we're going to dig into that a little bit here today. So the distinction that I learned early in my career, going back almost 30 years ago, is, basically a coach is somebody. Now, I'll make it clear. I'm not a pure coach. I coach and I consult, but really when I do my best work, it's a blend. But in a purest form, a coach believes that you have the answers and asks you questions to help discover it and flush it out. But they believe that the intelligence sit within you and they're trying to help you find your own way. And in the purest form, I had actually who was called a mentor early in my life. A man by the name of Joff Grona, brilliant man. He had him and his brother, I believe, founded a company called Caro Design in Vancouver. They were very successful. Great guy. But every time I'd ask him a question, he'd ask me another question. And then he would always draw me a little model, a 3-box, 4-box, 2 circles. He'd always have models for everything. He was like a master coach. I don't think he ever answered one of my questions. So he helped me to find my own way. And so that is a coach. Whereas a consultant is someone who helps you to find the answer, and you generally bring them on because they're good at finding the answer. And they've often done it a lot of times. So consultant gives you the answer, the coach draws the answer out of you is at a macro level in their purest forms. And I know there's lots of different ones in between, but in their purest forms, that's my take on it anyways.
Yeah, I'm similar. I had a mentor for a period of time, a chap called John Schaefer, very successful local businessman here. And he wouldn't ask any questions to my recollection. It was always telling me what to do, which is fine. That serves a purpose. And I got some amazing learnings from that over the period of time, and he helped me no end. But there is a difference, and understanding what that difference is before you step into a relationship is quite important. Only the other day, a person came to our firm looking to do some work, and they said, yeah, we need a consultant. And they were talking about the big consultancy firms, but they weren't a good fit for them because they were simply too small. And so we kind of dug into it, and he didn't need a consultant. He needed a coach. And it's really quite important to understand, what do they do? How do they help? And how are they different? So I guess your distinction, coaches ask questions expecting you to have the answer, and consultants are hired to give you the answer. So I kind of have this vision, or this image of they come in, they understand, or they learn about the problem that you've got, consultants. They work on it, they write you a big report, and then there's this massive thud as the report hits the desk, and this is the answer. Now that may be a bit unfair, but that's the thinking that I have. It's about the report and the answer and what they do there. The coach, on the other hand, is there for a bit of a perhaps longer journey. They're there to help you to answer the questions that you don't even know that you need to answer.
Yeah, another way of thinking about it is a coach is there working with you on improving your performance and the performance of your team, if that's what they're engaged for. It could be one or the other, over a long period of time. Like, it's almost like they're there throughout all the chapters of your growth, where consultants are generally just in for a chapter.
Yeah.
If you got to do a turnaround, you got to do a pivot, you got to open a new market, you've got to get a product approval, you've got to do something notably different. Consultants are there for a chapter, where a coach is almost there as part of your ecosystem and your operating system over time. And again, this is not good or bad. I love consultants. Consultants are amazing. I push for my clients to get them because they help you to get shortcuts to an answer. Like, I had breakfast with a CEO Friday morning last week that I know well. We caught up, and he was telling me about when he wanted to expand into another country. He spent $250,000 for someone to go tell him how his product would fit or not fit in that country. Now, he did go over with them to that country and do a trip, but I said, was it worth it? He goes, well, it was a lot of money. He goes, one of my team probably could have done it for the equivalent of, $30,000 of cost, but they didn't have the time, they didn't have the expertise, and it would have been their first time doing it, so the result would have been mediocre. The consultants write these reports nonstop. So in his mind, and even if his numbers were wrong, he was able to get a detailed answer with a lot of data that no one has the capability to do because they're too busy running the business. So, I love consultants when they are used well in businesses. I have a whole thing about how to use consultants well, because through the clients I work with, there's been spends of millions and millions of dollars. And there's a great way to engage, and then there's also not great way. And I can thank my clients for teaching this to me. But anyway, they're both super valuable, but in very different ways.
The really important point that you made there is that the coach is a part of the ongoing operating system. And this is what you and I do, right? So, the average tenure that I might work with a team for is 5 or 10 years, or maybe even more. And I know it's the same for you.
Yes.
We are a part of the leadership team, and a part of the operating system is a great way to put it. A good analogy that I've thought of, or been the way I've been thinking about it lately, is imagine a sports team. So you may have a consultant. If you've got your favorite football team, consultant would come in and they would tell you how to execute a particular move or do a particular thing with either your head or your body. Okay. It could be something about the mind or the body to help you to perform better. And then they would go. But the coach is there all the time. The coach is there working on your mind and your body as well, through that journey. And you know that they're going to be there through the highs and the lows looking into the future.
Yeah. So in a conversation I had with a CEO today, they were sharing a challenge they had with an acquisition. As they're walking me through the challenge, and then I just start, asking a bunch of questions. And at some point they go, oh my, it's so obvious, isn't it? And I go, what? He goes, well, this is the same thing I would do if it was one of my direct reports. I just should be doing it with the acquisition. And they got lost in a bunch of weirdness and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, I just need to treat them like a direct report when something hasn't gone well, and follow I got to tell them to tell me the root causes. What do they propose to do to solve the root causes? What's the action plan? And we discuss it for 90 minutes. And then they come back and see me once a week for half an hour to tell me how they're doing. And then but they're just like, but they're in the middle of it and in the chaos and the blah, blah, blah. And as they were talking, it's just like, it was so damn clear.
Yeah.
And the distinction I will share though, I have learned pure coaching, you have no opinion, no agenda, you only ask questions. Pure consulting, you dig, mine data, go to sources and come back with a solution or report. Some of the best consultants do a little bit of coaching, and some of the best coaches do a little bit of consulting. I would say that in my work with CEOs, if you just sit and ask questions the whole time, you're going to drive them bonkers.
Yeah.
They want answers sometimes. They want opinions sometimes. They just don't want them all the time. So in my world, I am probably somewhere between 60 and 70% coach, depending. And then the rest is consultant, because I have a lot of been there, done that, because I'm in the boardroom all the time. The difference is when I'm going to switch gears and go from coach to consultant, I'm saying, hey, you want me to share what another client did? Hey, do you want me to share my perspective? Hey, do you want me to role play how to communicate or articulate this? It's like I ask, because I'm coaching, I ask permission to shift gears.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go into advice mode.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what makes a great coach? You and I have got, this is what I've found. You and I have got a very specific definition of coaching as we see it. And it may be very different to other people. But I reckon that one of the things, given everything that you've just said, that makes a great coach is that they can run to the fire. When they see a situation, that's an analogy for a fireman, fire person, someone who's a firefighter. But they will have no fear when it comes to conflict and getting into that, knowing the outcomes can be quite positive. Whereas some people, they just haven't got that in their heart. They don't have the heart to run to the fire. And if they don't have that courage, that kind of can be one of the things that can separate good and great coaches.
Yes, they have the confidence and the faith that things will work out if you march towards what needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
And won't let that stuff slide. I mean, in many ways, and that's the part of us where we hold people accountable. And that's where our fourth point here is that, we hold people accountable. If someone has to let someone go, make a tough decision, I make a note and I follow up with them to make sure it gets done. I hold that CEO or that executive accountable, mostly CEOs, because it's hard. We're human beings. We got feelings. It's hard. It's hard to do. The other thing that makes a great coach is just fit. It's someone that's in sync with you. At the end of the day, like my coach, her name's Nan. She's down in Atlanta. She's amazing for me. She's amazing because she's got a little bit of soft and a lot of direct, hard hitting. And that's what I need as a coach. It's the fit is a really big thing. The final thing I'll say about a coach that's different, and I just thought about this now, Brad, is that they work with you to drive towards your long-term goals. A good coach does. I spoke to a bunch of coaches last week and shared some stuff with them. But what I've also seen is that there's coaches who just coach you on whatever comes up.
Yeah.
But I believe the best coaches are tapped into where you want to be long-term in terms of your work and for yourself and your life. And they're helping you to get there and not get lost in the noise, marching towards your goals because you get lost and distracted and not just the pain of the day or the opportunity of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of multi-layered, that what you said there, at a personal and a business level. The only other point I'd throw in there, taking your lead, going off agenda, is tools. I think
Yes.
that consultants tend to rely a lot on tools, whereas coaches have tools in their kit, but it's not the everything. It's that, you know, they're often going on instinct and looking for the answers a lot more so, based on, you know, experience of many, many years.
Agree. Well, let's quickly wrap up. So that's consultants versus coaches. First thing, when it comes to answers, consultants generally give it to you. Coaches ask you to find it yourself. Relationship coaches are generally ongoing and a long-term part of your operating system. Consultants are more project-based or for different chapters of your journey. Coaches, you'll often work with one coach or a coach on a certain area, but many consultants at different times as you need them. Number 4 is accountability. Coach holds you accountable. Generally, you hold consultants accountable. And then we kind of threw in there stuff like, both will use tools. With a coach, the fit is critical, and a consultant too. But if you're going to work with someone long-term, there has to be a really, really good fit.
Yeah.
And the last one that I mentioned here was goals. Is that a coach should drive you towards long-term goals. Let's make a note here. Awesome.
All right, thank you.
We're moving quick. Brad, you want to wrap us up?
I sure do. So hope you've enjoyed the episode. You can find me, Brad, at evolutionpartners.com.au, and I've got a newsletter each week that you may or may not find interesting, allegedly. Kevin equally has a newsletter that you potentially could find interesting, and you can find Kevin at lawrenceandco.com. Hope you've enjoyed the episode, Coaches versus Consultants, and enjoy your week. Look forward to chatting to you again next week on the Growth Whisperers.
Have a great one.